if I can turn up the... I can't see it. No, it won't let me do that. Okay. I can't see it for nothing. It's too dark for me, but...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hey guys, happy Wednesday. Welcome back to Spraguever Homestead. I'm your host, Kanan.
You're the host?
I'm the host.
Okay. Host.
This is my special guest, Nikki.
So we're going to try these on Wednesdays for a little bit, because as I said in the community post the other day, it seems like everybody is now doing these on Monday. Like, we started doing the mailbag Monday, and all of a sudden, everybody was doing mailbag Mondays. And it was, so, it's so hard to get on. So we're going to try Wednesdays from here on out and see how that goes. At least for the month of May, because we have a bunch of stuff coming up. I think I have a 4-H meeting next Monday and some stuff. So we're going to try and do that. Hopefully Kanan can get on, because it's really hard to read all the comments as we go. And so I see several people joining. So welcome, everybody. I guess we'll start with the normal kind of recap of what's been going on since last week. I guess I want to start and say, one, thank you everybody who popped in last week for our conversation about the initiatives. The Colorado and Oregon initiatives. Great conversation. We've had some follow-up comments, questions, messages, that kind of stuff. And it was really fun to have such good participation. So thanks everybody who popped in for that. If you didn't watch that, I know it's really long. It's like 2-hour long live stream. Yeah. But I think we all had some good information and stuff like that. So beyond that, I've decided that busy isn't the new 4-letter word. Because we are constantly busy. I'm getting everything cleaned up, ready to go for rabbit class next weekend. So that's the 15th and 16th. I do have a few spots left if any locals or somebody wants to make the drive up here. We even still have one camping spot available. So if anybody wants to come for that, we only had a couple of people go last time, but those people I think would tell you that there is a lot of information. Yeah. And it's a long day. It's 9 a.m. to 3 or 4 on Saturday, and then 9 to noon on Sunday, and we cover everything. We're covering more this time than we did last time even. One, because we have several repeat folks coming back in, and have had some special requests. So like Ray's coming back in, and we're going to do tattooing. And a girlfriend of mine is actually coming to teach palpating, which I really admittedly suck at. I'm getting better, but I'm nowhere near where, Vanessa can usually tell how many babies and everything. So we got that coming. And then we just pretty much, I try and leave lots of time for questions. So anybody who's got other stuff, we can talk about other stuff there too. Kanan also does a farm tour. We do lunch. He does a live butchering presentation and all that. So lots of stuff. So we're getting ready for that. On top of that, because my shows have pretty much been canceled, I am also, while I'm fixing cages, because my cages are just getting old, so some of the bottoms are rusting out a little bit. And rusty wire causes sore hocks. I'm sure everybody saw that video. So I'm going through and pulling floors and replacing it with better wire. I like my bass cages. I don't necessarily like bass's wire when it comes to the floors. And, rabbit pee just tears everything up eventually. So we're replacing floors. And while I've got everything out, I'm also cleaning and fixing all my carriers, painting over rust spots, and trying to prolong the life of all of that good equipment. So all of that's going on. Meanwhile, we are getting ready for goat birthing season. So Kanan has been hard at work cleaning the barns. The girls are getting big. They're getting uncomfortable.
And they're getting even more nasty in temperament. At least some of them.
Yes, some of them are getting a little cranky. So yeah, we're getting ready for that. Hatching season is in full swing. We are hatching geese like crazy right now.
Yep.
And that's kind of the gist of it. We're trying to work on the garden as we can, but of course, kind of tied up with other stuff. Potatoes are mostly in. I got one more bed to plant. Onions are in. And garlic is in. We don't fall plant garlic here. Some people do, but the way our soil heaves, I tried it one year and it literally blew all my cloves out, even with a mulch out. So uh, that's all done.
Well, if you can see behind us, though, on the racks, we have tomatoes everywhere. What did you plant yesterday? Mint that you split apart?
Yeah, so I'm propagating mint right now. I bought some mint plants for some new beds, and I don't know if anybody's looked lately, but the 4-inch pots of herbs this year are $4, which is more than I wanted to spend to put 4 or 5 plants in a bed. So I'm propagating mint. If you've never propagated mint, super easy this time of year. Just cut off the longer, like a 5-6 inch piece, pull all the leaves off, but the last 4, stick it in some water, and it'll start putting out roots within a week. So mine are just rooted enough now that it's time for some potting soil. So yeah, trying to do that because I won't put them out for another month yet because I'm going to get these babies potted up and going. We also hatched a ton of pheasants. They went over to my mom. We got 12 out of 18 eggs, which was a really good hatch rate for young birds and whatever crazy incubator problems I've been having, which we think are getting better. But then my last go around of turkeys and chickens haven't done anything, so I'm not sure what exactly is going on there. This may just be the last of the few eggs that were caught up in that whole wild temperature problem. So beyond that, they are trying to get Kanan back to work already.
It's been a week and a half. I told him I was going to take about 7 weeks off, which would have put it to like July 4th. I'd go back to work on a new assignment, and our group manager called today and said, "Hey, are you ready to come back?" And I thought it's not even been 7 days.
Yeah.
So we're trying to find a solution. They're swamped, need people, so we are. I told them what I could do early in the mornings because they're on Eastern time typically, and I'm 3 hours behind. The great thing with that is I can work early mornings, which would be like 6 to 10 here, which would put them 9 to 1, kind of in the middle of their day, the early to mid part of their day. So we'll see if that works out. I told them I could work 4 hours a day at maximum, because at that point at 10 o'clock, I can get out and go still do a lot of work and get 5 or 6 good hours in at least before we do evening chores and dinner.
And 10 o'clock probably sounds really late to people, like, oh, you're homesteading, you're not working till 10 o'clock. We're still freezing at night.
Yeah.
So it's still really cold until 9 and 10. So
yeah.
Beyond that, I probably will do a video on this pretty shortly. We managed, when we went to the California show at the end of March, apparently I brought home bordetella, which I have never had before. Not me personally, obviously, the rabbits. I've heard people tell me for years that they pick stuff up at shows and it's never happened to us. And it did this year. This is the first time I've ever shown in California other than convention like 5 years ago. And sure enough, brought something home. Didn't recognize that was what it was, because I mentioned a while back that I had lost a junior doe that seemed fine, and then all of a sudden presented with going off food and water. Still didn't see anything, didn't hear anything, and next thing I knew, she had fluid coming out of her nose, and I thought, okay, this is some kind of acute pneumonia. And then I lost an older doe that had always kind of had some respiratory problems. So it was kind of unexpected. I thought, okay, 2 isolated, the old saying, misery comes in threes. So I thought, okay, well, things happen. And then I walked into the barn about 4 days later, and I've got sneezing. And I've got another doe sneezing. And I've got another doe sneezing. And that doesn't happen around here. we've always had really healthy rabbits. So I was like, whoa, what is this? Did some reading. It's not Pastorella. It was moving too fast for Pastorella. And I have two does, and this was kind of the thing that told me exactly what it was. I have two does that aren't having any respiratory signs, but they are having weepy eyes. And I know that can happen in Pastorella, but that is the weepy eyes is usually a secondary system or a secondary symptom to the respiratory problems. In Bordetella, you can get eye weepage and swelling without any respiratory stuff. And of course, like I said, the flying through the rabbitry as fast as it was going was the other symptom or sign that this was something else. So I reached out to some friends that have had this before. Sure enough, that is what we're dealing with. I currently have 8 rabbits on antibiotics every day for 10 days. We are on day number 3. And yeah, it really did take me that long. Bordetella tends to take about 2 weeks to incubate. So what happened was it came in on the window, is what we figured out. Because there was a young man that was showing Americans with me that, in hindsight, a couple of them were acting up a little bit, and I didn't think too much of it at the time because it happens. Especially you get stress, runny noses and stuff at shows and juniors. So I didn't think too much of it, but this one particular doe was the first to go. I had gotten her from him, is the other part of it. And what we think happened is it basically hitched a ride on my clothes into another barn. We had quarantined everybody coming back from the show like we always had. But this one skipped over, the quarantine, made it through because I didn't realize the incubation on Bordetella can be so long. And so the rabbits that have picked it up are older does. The one we lost was an old doe. The other one that we lost was an old doe because we've now lost 3 rabbits to it. I have a 5-year-old Trianta that's got it. I've got a 5-year-old doe that's got babies that's snotty and having trouble. So the only ones getting it are older does, but of course these are my better does. So today was injection 4 for some of them, 3 for the others, and we are already starting to see symptom improvement. So that'll be coming up. That's kind of the big stuff going on around here. That has been a huge source of stress, as Kanan could probably tell you. A lot of sleepless nights of trying to figure out what in the world is going on with my rabbits. But we're getting it under control. We will have it all knocked out and be past the contagious period before we've got class. So anybody who's going to come, don't worry too much about it. Everything is being disinfected as we should, and we're keeping up with
Zone 6 for growing.
We are in a weird. So some maps say we're 6A, some of them say we're 5B. So I look up most of my stuff for zone 5B because 6 has the higher end temperature. 5B has the lower end freezing temperature. So anyway, so that's pretty much the gist of what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
For the
other than all of our weird conversations. So
yeah.
So I don't know if anybody's been to the grocery store lately. Probably everybody.
Probably everybody, yes.
So, or keeping an eye on some of these articles and things. So we have been keeping a list of things that are either already prices have gone up that we've seen, or things that we're reading are coming in the pipeline. And guys, it's a page. Like, it's really getting to be a thing.
Yeah.
So I'll go through some of this, and we'll talk a little bit about some of this stuff. So of course they're saying some of this is because of backups and shipping. Some of this is higher fuel prices. Some of this, and I didn't know this was an epidemic until I read it to him the other day, container ships falling off, or containers falling off of container ships. Like millions of dollars of product is falling off into the ocean, which is kind of interesting. And then of course we've got wild weather, right? So we've got freezing and tornadoes and you name it. So lots of stuff going on. But the list that we know of so far. So coffee, again, some of this is probably local to us. You may not be seeing this stuff yet. Coffee is starting to go up. What did they say by the end of the year? Like 15%?
15-20%, I think, is what
Okay.
the expected range was.
So coffee is on its way up. Cheese is going up. And I'll tell you this. So we buy Tillamook because we are in Oregon and we buy Tillamook cheese. It's expensive. It's always been a little bit more expensive. It's a higher end cheese. At least I like to believe so as an Oregonian. I used to pay $7.99 a block.
A year ago,
A
it
year,
was $7.99 a block.
yeah, just over a year ago. In the fall, it hit $8.99. In January, it hit $9.99. And last week we went to the store and it's $13.82 a block. So, yeah, keep that in mind. Chicken, the prices, we don't buy chicken because we have the rabbits and we do our own chicken, but we do glance when we're in the store. I'm not seeing the prices go up yet, but they are saying by the end of the year up to 50% higher prices.
Yeah.
Some of this is supposedly backlogged from, so we have, and I think this is kind of weird, but we have what's listed as a national poultry supply. And so it's all the freezer all the freezer facilities in the United States that hold on to this chicken. And of course we got all screwed up on COVID. On top of this, because of fast food and people eating at home in the last year, there is a national wing shortage. The chicken sandwich stuff, like you've got KFC and Wendy's and everybody doing these chicken sandwiches, is causing a breast shortage. So they're saying that, yeah, by fall, and I haven't seen exactly when they think that's going to be, by fall they're expecting prices to be 50% higher on chicken. So if you're not raising your own chickens, guys, like, seriously look at it. Because the broiler prices I'm seeing are higher, but they're not that high. Like our local hatchery Jenks, they went up like 10 or 15 cents a chick is all. But you need to get on it because it's getting harder to get them. Our local feed store is selling out like crazy. Furniture is another one that they listed as prices are going to be steadily increasing from now until December. So that's kind of an interesting thing. If anybody needs furniture, don't put it off. It's going up. Corn is another one. And we try not to feed a whole lot of corn, but look, it's in all poultry feed.
Right? Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But they also use it a lot in feeding out steers and in pork production. The corn shortage is so bad and the corn prices are going up so rapidly, and I thought this was kind of interesting, that they said that because pork and beef sell for more, they are basically robbing the corn to feed them, which is shorting the poultry people. So they're trying to come up with a new solution using wheat, which makes me a little nervous. And we'll get to why wheat's a big deal in a minute. But they're basically trying to reformulate all of these feeds to accommodate this. And they're saying that on top of poultry going up, that we're going to start seeing pork prices continue to climb and beef. So if you're doing grass-fed, this really is not going to affect you. I mean, it's just not. But if you're buying beef that's traditionally fed out in feedlot or finishing beef at home using, the normal sweet feed and things that have the high amount of corn in it, you're going to be in for some sticker shock. My feed guy at the store said it's already gone up. Of course, chicken feed had gone up back in the fall. And they're saying with this corn thing, it's going to keep climbing, which is kind of interesting. So with that, and I thought this was really interesting. So right now we have a surplus of wheat in the country, but as that starts to roll over to feed, now they're saying bread costs are going to start rising because we're going to have to start fighting the wheat and going over to animal feed. So it's definitely this trickle down thing. And right now I'm not seeing any difference in my flour because I have to buy a certain premium flour that doesn't make me as sick because I have some gluten sensitivity issues. So not seeing a whole lot of stuff yet, but like I said, all the economists are saying that this stuff is in the works. Pass that feed prices all the way across the board. Now, rabbit feed has been largely unaffected so far because we're not overly grain based. We're mostly hay based. But now they're saying with the higher fuel costs, we're expecting higher hay costs this year.
Yep.
And especially where we are, if you're somewhere in the western United States looking at some of these drought possibilities, where now they're already telling, and I say they, it's all the locals that have been through this before, are strongly urging that you get on hay and buy it early this year, because there may not be a second or third cutting in some places, and places that are really being hard hit, like places in California and some areas in Oregon, are buying hay and getting on contract now for other areas. That said, when I bought rabbit feed this last time, it had gone up 65 cents a bag in 3 months, which doesn't sound like a lot, but yeah, if it does that more than once or twice. This one people might have seen on the news, chlorine. So I didn't realize, being a non-pool person, that apparently a lot of people put in what they call pandemic pools in 2020. And this is now causing a chlorine shortage. Now, on top of this, there was also a fire at a chemical plant in Louisiana that shut them down. But we are looking at chlorine shortages. And I looked this up, and if you buy chlorine bleach, because if you've been in the store or buy bleach, you know that there is now multiple levels of bleach. There's Clorox has a bleach that doesn't actually sanitize or do much of anything but whiten clothes. And there's bleach alternatives and all that. But the true bleach, chlorinated bleach that you can purify and sanitize with, they're saying could be in short supply by fall, which is interesting. Of course, if you've been to the gas station, gas has gone up.
Yep.
We're up, what, 15, 20 cents in the last month?
We're about 25, I think, in the last month.
Yeah.
We were at 3.25 when we went and got gas in one of the Suburbans, I think Sunday.
Okay.
And
I didn't pay attention.
It was just about $2.99, and we've hit about 3.25 now, so I'm gonna say 25 cents.
Yeah. Canning lids. So people who can know that we had a crisis in 2020. You couldn't buy canning lids. They are starting to appear in stores, and whoever it is in Klamath County that I'm dueling it out with right now at the Walmart, somebody keeps beating me to it, and I guess they figured out when the shipments come in, because every time I go in, there's empty boxes, and I'm like, they're getting me. I did find some at $4 a box for the ball, and I've always paid like $2.59 out here, so they're way up, like way up. Canning jars are another thing that is already way up.
Mm-hmm.
Where we were at Diamond Home Improvement, and they had cases of pints for $13, and it was not a high quality brand. It was like Anchor Hawking, which I used to buy at Walmart for like $7. So things are, I feel like they're starting to pinch us, folks. Toilet paper.
That's not a shock.
No, toilet paper and paper towels.
Yep.
Supply is having problems again. I'm sure everybody's seen the thing where Scott Tissue has announced that their prices are going up. Diapers also going up. Feminine products also going up. This, and I don't know if I told you this, so there is still some cotton in feminine products. And apparently, and I did not know this, cotton was having some problems in the South. So we used to live in Mississippi, and they grow a lot of cotton there. With the deep freeze, I guess it screwed up the cotton production for this year. And if what they think happens with the slowdown in cotton, we could be looking at increases all the way across the board. Socks,
anything
jeans,
cotton related,
anything cotton. And cotton's actually used in a lot of stuff. Like there's some insulation now that has cotton in it. But feminine products, Q-tips, I don't know if Q-tips are actually still real cotton or not. I think some of them still say 100% cotton. You could be looking at increased costs for Q-tips this year. Pet food, fencing due to some steel prices and whatnot. And I'll let Kanan explain this one because I didn't read the article. Rubber.
Okay, so rubber. So normally most of the world's rubber comes out of Southeast Asia, and because of the pandemic, they didn't do a lot of planting. They've had weather issues, and it mostly affects things made with latex. So you've got gloves and different latex products. They are used a little bit. That type of rubber is used a little bit in tires. This is where I got it because I still watch car blogs and multiple things on cars. So car tires hasn't been affected yet. Now, granted, you think of the pandemic, most people work from home, at least in the US and around the world, they stayed inside. They really didn't drive anywhere to work necessarily, though a lot of us still recreationally drive. So tires haven't been necessarily affected. Prices, yeah, they're kind of up and down a little bit, but car tires, they're watching closely because they had they basically stripped out the supply. Shipping also, and plus China being closest to it is one of the biggest consumers of that rubber that comes out of the plants and the trees. And so now it's a fight over who gets it. And of course, China's taken a lot of it because they're so close by.
So going with that, I saw today, of all things, on an office supply website where they were talking about this could impact things like rubber bands.
Yep.
Which I never thought about. Kids' toys. I guess there's quite a bit of rubber still used in shoes, like soles for shoes, which I did not know. Matting, like floor matting. So, yeah, this rubber thing could be a much bigger deal than we thought it was going to be. And then the last thing I've noticed, and I figured this out just the other day, because like I said, I've got sick rabbits, had to go get some medication. And we knew when I got some CDT last spring that prices had gone up. Yeah, prices in antibiotics, if you can, and of course, in most places, you can't hardly get anything anymore. But we can get LA-200, which is oxytetracycline. I was trying to say that right. You can still get it over the counter, and the prices are. I used to pay like $8 for a bottle.
Yeah.
I paid $19 for the cheap off-brand because the actual LA-200 was out, and it was like $28 for, what is that, 100 milliliter bottle. So yeah, that and syringes have gotten more expensive. I actually had to hit Amazon and buy some because just the little 3cc syringe, not the needle, just the syringe, was up to 49 cents. So I hit Amazon and got a box coming for like 19 cents or 14 cents, I think.
Yeah.
It's like 14, $15. So between all of this, higher prices, and you know they're saying there's more coming, right?
Right.
With the wheat shortage or potential wheat redistribution, that's what they're calling it. Not shortages yet, redistribution as they move it over to animal feed. You think about what's in wheat. I mean, or what wheat goes into, not what's in wheat. But cereals could be going up. They've already said breads. For that matter, like Taco Bell's meat filling has wheat in it. And Taco Bell has gone up. All of our fast food places are going up. Have gone up substantially in the last week.
So we've had to do a lot of running in the last week for various reasons. You know, we had to go shopping, yes, but we had to get
rapid deliveries and medications, and
we've done a lot of running. So we were in town Tuesday last week, and when we got there really wasn't anything. It was pretty. I think it was actually at lunchtime, but we don't have a lot of restaurants, and we couldn't afford to sit down at a restaurant if we could find a table anywhere. So because Nikki has the bread thing, we always try to find something to eat. So typically a lot of it turns into Taco Bell. So we went to Taco Bell. We have our favorites. We got it. And we go back Thursday because, again, we were in town for some other reason. And he's like, well, let's just hit the bell real quick. So we went over there and we go up there, and our favorites, one of the combinations that we like the most between us went up 80 cents
in 2 days.
in 2 days. It's like, what?
The bean burritos went up like 20 cents
for the burritos. It's like, what?
A bean burrito is now $2.19, and I don't know who remembers the 59, 79, 99 era, but that's gone. That's gone. So, and I haven't priced beans lately, so I don't know what's going on there, but Lord knows there's probably some price increases there as well. So, who knows? So we've been, between that and last week where we talked about all these new initiatives, we've been really talking about, do we stay in Oregon? Because of course, yesterday, OSHA in the state of Oregon came out and said masks are now permanent. Not permanent. They're in place until July when the governor's order expires. And then every 2 months, they'll reevaluate whether or not we still continue to need them. Now, I don't care where you're at with masks. That doesn't really matter. What does matter is we are being regulated in the state of Oregon to death, right?
Yes.
That goes with weapons. They passed the thing today where everything must have a lock or be locked up. And we're the kind that if we're having coyote problems, you better believe that there's a rifle sitting behind the back door.
Yeah.
Or the front, because when you need it, when there's a coyote in the backyard trying to eat the chickens, that is not the time to fumble with keys, get into the case, get it, and then try and shoot something. So,
and you don't want to leave a loaded weapon. So,
yeah, we don't do that at all.
It'll take you 8 to 10 minutes just to get into everything and then load it and be out there in your, in your pajamas and your slippers trying to fire off a shot at a coyote.
Right. So, we've been kicking around whether or not to leave. Now, we're in Oregon because this is where our family is, my family. I shouldn't say ours. My family is here.
Yeah.
My brother's about 2.5 hours, and my parents live up the street. And for the most part, Klamath County is a good place to live. However, we're a pretty conservative county in a sea of non-conservative counties.
Yeah.
So, Michael Litchford, wasn't it? That
Lynch.
said. Okay, I'm bad with names.
No, sorry, that's Matthew Lynch.
That's Matthew Lynch.
We're getting confused here.
I think it's Michael that's in Utah. Said y'all should come to Utah. So I looked briefly this morning, and I don't know if you've looked at your real estate prices lately, but holy cow, not going to Utah. Can't afford Utah even if I wanted to.
Yeah. We've
talked about going back to the Southeast. We really liked Tennessee. But quite frankly, the weather down there is out of control.
Well, that and the Tennessee that we fell in love with
isn't there anymore.
In the early 2000s doesn't exist anymore.
No, it's being bought up by Oregonians.
Let's just say the West Coast.
Yeah.
The West Coast has fled east. They bombarded Austin, Texas, and a lot of the middle of Texas basically is now, you can call it California East.
Yes, unfortunately.
And then when everybody kind of stopped going to Texas after it really kind of went crazy on real estate, they were like, what's the next cool thing? And then Tennessee became that. And if you look at the top 10 hottest cities for moving, number 1 was Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And the people I know in Idaho are flat tired of people moving there, that they're thinking of leaving.
Right. So that got us into a discussion of where do you go? Because I grew up in Oregon and it wasn't always like this, right? California was always kind of joked about as the crazy cousin to our south. And those people all moved to Oregon. So gradually it's become more liberal all on the West Coast. Obviously Colorado's gotten that way as well. So you start asking the question of where can you even go? Because what happens is we all know is people leave the crazy liberal stuff that they don't like and yet somehow take it with them. So we've seriously been looking out of the country. I like Guatemala until I read today about their high crime rate. That's kind of a deal breaker.
Yeah.
My dad has been looking at Costa Rica. So we've been looking at that a little bit. And Costa Rica, of everything I found in Central America, actually looks pretty promising. The prices aren't too bad. Um, they don't get a lot of hurricanes. They've got a good growing season. They've got some beautiful houses for a pretty affordable price.
Well, the hardest thing we've looked for, and when we had this discussion this morning, is what do you, because here we have now with the extensions we're maybe 1,300 square feet at that, so it's not a large house, and yes, because we don't have a lot of stuff in the house because it's only 1,300 square feet, it's only 2 bedroom 1 bath. We have a lot of outbuildings, right? We have our main garage, and we have a storage building and 2 barns, and then she has rabbit barns and poultry barns. We have a lot of little buildings, and it's all on 20 acres, and we have 100 total. So if you look down there, without doing an extensive research, we probably don't have the complete list of the real picture of what's all available. But it seems like you can find a half acre with a 4,000 square foot house, or you can find a little mini shack on 1,000 acres of rainforest and mangoes and.
I found like a 1,500 square foot house on like 20 acres for $200,000 or 250. And guys, it sounded so cool. There was mango groves, avocado trees. They even said a couple acres of it are planted in a coffee plantation. I mean, how cool is this?
It was all good until I told her, you remember there's going to be monkeys there, right?
And this is where the deal breaker comes in so far. I don't like monkeys. But in all seriousness, I mean, we're all for, stay somewhere, fight for your rights and all that. But I don't know. I don't know how everybody else feels like it. But I feel like we are all of us in the homesteading thing are rapidly becoming the minority to the point that at some point we're going to get overwhelmed. It's how do you fight back against all of this stuff? And I'm not a big, flee from my problems kind of person by any stretch, but it is getting to the point that what else can you do? Like, we're getting to the point in Oregon where I can vote my ever-loving heart out, and it's not going to make any difference. That there are people in the upper I-5 corridor that have never been on a farm, that think everything is a pet, and they don't get it. And I'm never going to get through to those people because they think that everything is a petting zoo and that every sheep should be, bedded down in our living room at night. So where do you go? I mean, like I was saying, we've been told, come to Wyoming, come to Utah, come to blankety blank. But guys, I think it's all coming. Like, these states are going to pick us off one by one by one, and eventually there's going to be nowhere left to go. And maybe that's a really defeated attitude, but I'll be honest, this is how we feel these days, is really defeated by this whole thing of, yes, I think we will stop these initiatives. If enough of us stand up, we're going to stop some of these initiatives for now. But I don't for 1 minute believe long term we're going to be able to stop this kind of stuff. It's just the people that want it have all the money. And unfortunately, people think that research now comes off of Facebook, So, I don't know. But we have looked at some other places. I really like the property prices in Belize. And then I found out Belize is one of the most dangerous places in the world. So that's probably not going to go.
Mm-hmm.
If we save up enough money, I guess we could get our own military force. We probably have to.
Yeah.
So, looks like we're having quite a few conversations.
It's some saying they're. I don't think anybody on here on the chat at least disagrees with us as homesteaders being the minority and restrictions. It seems like the debate is some are saying you can't leave, you've got to stay and fight, and others said, well, the tropics sound nice. So it's hard to say. And I'll tell you the thing, as I was doing dishes this morning, the thing that hit me, and I finally could tell Nikki what I've been feeling since she started talking about this. Her dad's joked on going to Costa Rica and that for a couple months, and we're just like, yeah, he's just just talking, and she's been talking about the last couple weeks, and really IP13 when we found out what that entailed was really the thing that really got her going forward. And I finally this morning thought about it, and I was able to tell her what I kind of felt. It was that now that we've put it in storage building and I've kind of got my business going, I finally feel like this is home. And everywhere we've moved, I don't think we've been there long enough for me to really kind of think this is it. This is the last place we're moving to. Because once I graduated college, we were in Colorado. We went to Tennessee for a music career that, died before it got going.
He didn't like being a poor suffering artist.
Oh my gosh, that was terrible. So we left, I got into automotive at that point because there was a Nissan factory close to that. And from there we moved to Mississippi. And while it felt good to be there, it never felt truly like it was the forever home. And when we moved to Oregon, she wanted to be close to her folks. And we got here and it really wasn't my thing. Homesteading isn't in my blood. It's not in my nature. It's a lot of days a struggle for me to go do this stuff. There's no car scene really here that at least that I really fit into. I've really in between age groups and interests, and it just never fit. And lately, since last year we put in the building, I have felt that I finally, maybe it's because I'm independent enough now that I don't need a car scene to fit into, that I've kind of created my own subculture.
Yeah.
To where I can do everything here virtually, and I have enough space to spread out, and I can build all the cars I want to build. And when she's now talking about, maybe in another year we'll move, and I'm thinking, where's the hair in my head that I'm going to pull out? Because I finally have just been like, okay, this is it. This is the forever. This was the deal. We're moving here, and this is it. We're not ever leaving this property. And
bury
she was
me in the backyard.
Bury me in the backyard. Give me the hunter's funeral. I'm out back, and now she's like, maybe we'll move. And I'm thinking, no, I just finally got here and felt good.
I really don't want to move. And I am one of those to stay and fight. Somebody has to try and be the voice of reason, right? But when you're one voice in 100,000, which is what it's rapidly becoming, at least in this state,
yeah,
man, it's hard. Because what's happening is everybody around us is making the decision of what our life needs to look like based on, the pop-up Old McDonald book they had when they were 12 or 2 or whatever. Yeah. I guess you probably don't have a pop-up Old McDonald book at 12, but,
I have one at 45, 46. Am I 46? I'm 46. Just kidding.
See, so old he doesn't even remember.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just frustrating, and we'll hang here. Like, I guess my big thing is we will stay here until we can't stay here anymore. Because I don't want to move. I mean, I hate to say it this way because I'm only in my early 40s, but building and doing all of this stuff is really taxing on the body, on the budget, on you mentally. This is our third homestead. This is by far the biggest homestead we've had. We did some in Tennessee. We did a little more in Mississippi. And then this is really the place that we've gone and done it. And it's, I don't think I've got it in me again. I just don't. So we'll stay here. I'm sure I freaked some people out saying we're moving, but we've looked at it. We have looked at it. It would be dishonest to say that we haven't looked at it, but it is. And I think what's going to happen is if we keep all fleeing to a couple of states, eventually we're going to get overrun there too. So it's just, we'll keep continuing to share our lifestyle with other people, and maybe we can turn the corner. And I'll tell you this, the only thing that does give me hope, especially going through that whole list, right, of all these things that are going up, we saw a whole lot of people come into homesteading in 2020. The thing that's run a lot of these people back out is, one, nobody understood the costs and how tough some of this can be.
Mm-hmm.
But people got into stuff like, I'm going to raise pigs and I'm going to raise this, that, and the other. And they didn't know what they were doing. And then if they did raise one, there was nobody to butcher it because the butcher shops were so backed up, all the slaughtering houses. So some people have gone back out. And as things opened up and got more available this spring, a lot of people kind of ditched it, right? Everybody was baking sourdough bread last year, and now nobody's baking nothing. There are a handful of us that have stuck to it, and some people that have come into it and decided, yeah, well, this is what we're going to do. But shortages last year didn't make it any easier on a lot of people either.
But I had said this last night, and we were in town again.
I'm going to read through all this because he's hoarding all the comments over here.
I'm just watching the great discussion back and forth. I can't do that. We were in town last night because yesterday, if you saw the Facebook post, Nikki's been cleaning out the rabbit barns, and she sprays out with our pressure washer. She sprays out all of her trays and carriers. And so as we're getting ready for the rabbit class next weekend, hint, hint.
You're just going to keep plugging away.
I'm just going to keep plugging it away. She's been cleaning, and yesterday the pressure washer, which granted I think is 12 years old, it's been having kind of troubles, and we knew it was on its way out. And yesterday was the day that it made a lot of bang, a lot of grinding, and started smoking. So
I knew it was going to die for a long time.
Yes.
It had been starting to cycle. When you weren't pressure washing, you could hear the pump cycling, and it wasn't leaking out of any hose. So I thought it was leaking internally or having some kind of problem.
Yeah, it was having some kind of issue. Anyway, yesterday was the day that it finally just died. And
smoke, I figure, is a bad sign.
Yeah, smoke's usually a telltale sign it's over. So we went to town last night to run into Home Depot real quick. They closed at 9, and for the last 2 nights, we have now run in there at 8:45 to get things. And we're not the only ones. So we went in, grabbed that and a couple more things, and then we went to KFC to contribute to the chicken shortages. So we got chicken sandwiches, and we sat down and ate, and we went and got some things at the grocery store because we were already in town. So as we were sitting there eating our chicken sandwich, we're sitting there talking, watching people walk by, and I said to Nikki, last year, when everybody was shut down, you had a lot of people that changed their habits. We talked about all the garbage that was in the parking lot, and a year ago, that really wasn't the case so much. People weren't out and about. And a year later, we have gone back to our same habits. That you saw places that were overrun with smog. LA, you had places in India and Paris. Places that were overrun in smog that you made people stay home for 40 days or however long it was in their localized areas, and the smog cleared, and you had politicians and scientists saying we're at the point of no return, we can't go back. And if you take people out of the equation, a lot of times Mother Nature can go in there and clean up our mess in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
So we watched people come out of the store, and it was just after the mask mandate that OSHA is going to make it a somewhat permanent for the near future, at least, on masks. And it's like, boy, we've gone right back into the same bad habits that we had a year ago when COVID and the pandemic started to hit, when everybody started getting freaked out and shut down.
Oh, yeah. Prime example of that. The other morning we had to go, like I said, go get antibiotics. And at 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning, there was 20 some odd cars in the McDonald's line. Could not even believe the number of people sitting in line to try and get into McDonald's.
Yeah.
It was insanity.
Yeah. And they even have a double window kind of deal, and it was crazy. It's always crazy at McDonald's. I don't know what they're putting in the food, but
nothing healthy. I can
But
tell you
it's
that.
just it just struck us. Last night we're sitting there watching people go in and out of there. You've got vaccines and the masks, whether you want to get either or wear the masks but people have gone right back to the bad habits that we had before. Some people have, took last year with the shortages and the shutdowns, and they changed their life. Some people, got more exercise because they didn't have to go to work anymore. They could now go outside and exercise because the gyms are closed. But it was just a little bit frustrating because we see that here locally, and we're a pretty conservative group in our area, but people have gone right back to where it was, and I think you just hit the pause button, and we've now hit the play button now that or most people that wanted vaccines have gotten vaccines, and they're wearing masks, and we've just found those band-aids to keep soldiering on in our ways. So
I just love the discussion. That's all. I'm just trying to catch up with it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the discussion.
Yeah. It is pretty good.
It is.
I mean, there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So I don't know.
I didn't consider Ecuador. There's another one to look at.
We'll have to look at it. I am a huge. I mean, I guess I like other cultures. I've traveled a lot in younger years, not to South America. I've gone to Mexico a few times, but nothing further south. But I guess we're not, I guess don't read the title and think, oh my gosh, they're leaving the country. We haven't decided to do that. Besides, Nikki doesn't even have a passport.
Yours is almost expired.
And mine's almost expired. We're not going anywhere.
I did think about it the other day. I was in the post office picking up some quail eggs, and I thought there's applications on the wall for passports, and I thought, I wonder if I should get one. I mean, I guess the consensus I've gotten from most of this reading through here is, yeah, a lot of people are like, Oregon sucks, go ahead and leave.
Yeah.
And I see people saying, oh, I moved to Wyoming, I'm moving to Missouri. Again, I'm going to say it. I just think it's all going to happen there too.
Yeah, I think it's just delayed timeline.
Because
I grew up in Colorado, and I can tell you when I've gone to visit family in Colorado that still live there, I don't recognize it.
Yeah.
I know people that still live there. I've met people online or have, Facebook friends of people. My old college roommate still lives in northern Colorado. And
he was originally from California though, so
yeah, so he different story. But there's a lot of things there that somehow they're ahead of us on some things, and I'm surprised by that. But it's not the place that I grew up with that I recognize when I go back. Even the small little hometown that my parents moved us to when I was 5.5. It's probably double the size at least. I only think it was like 30 to 32,000 people when we first moved there, if that's the number I have in my head. But I bet it could be 100,000 people. It's grown so much now. It's hard to believe. It's not what I recognize.
So I see several people talking about hyperinflation. Yeah, if you haven't looked into what hyperinflation is, and if you think it can't happen here, you haven't been paying attention. That's all I can tell you. Some great examples of it throughout the last 100 years was what is it? The Weimar Republic. They went through hyperinflation near World War I or II. Zimbabwe, boy, they had.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
What little cash can be had, Venezuela's got hyperinflation. The whole thing that happened in Greece a few years ago was hyperinflation,
mm-hmm.
where the farmers just gave up and were giving it away. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's hyperinflation. I think there is a certain percentage it must go up to be considered from inflation to hyperinflation, and I don't know what that is from memory, but there are a lot of things that I think in a year from now, if we had the same conversation, if we mark it down as Cinco de Mayo 2022, I think you're going to have a lot of conversation around stuff that has doubled or tripled in price just because you've had shutdowns for production, you've had things lost at sea, you've had uh, containers getting lodged sideways in the Suez Canal that shut down the world commerce
Yeah.
for a week or two, whatever it was. But I mean, it's just a lot. It seems like a lot of freak, weird things that you wouldn't expect are stacking up. I mean, who would have thought Texas would have had a deep freeze so much that so many people would have been out of power, so many products would have been destroyed.
Some people died.
A lot of people. Well, yeah. I mean, who would have projected that North Texas would have been under a complete freeze situation?
Yeah.
Weird.
Man, there's some interesting comments.
See, you only wanted to do this for an hour today because we have so much to do, and you've got 3 minutes left.
I know. I'm just saying, there's such good conversation. It's taken me this long to catch up. If you want to start. Yeah, so Emma makes this comment about interesting tidbit about Weimar as it was actually stopped by Hitler. Yeah, Hitler actually came in and solved the hyperinflation problem in the Weimar Republic because that was in his trying to build his image kind of thing, and that's really how he got everybody, as kind of a weird side note, that's really how he got everybody to follow him, is they were like, look at this guy, he's got all the answers.
Yeah.
Never trust a guy with that funky little mustache.
Yeah, it was trendy for the time.
Just saying, anybody who takes the time to make sure that little no, you've got some,
that could
some
be
psychopathic
be the
tendencies.
grooming at the end of 2021. That could be like the no shave November.
You know
result.
what? I would be happy if there would just be some grooming at this point.
Well, that's true.
Every time we go into Walmart or anywhere anymore, I'm just like, people have just let themselves go. Like, I kind of got it in 2020, but no.
As you said before, people have no shame anymore. It's like you're wearing a mask, and it's like, this mask does not stop your funk.
Oh, God.
These are not, you almost need a breather.
Yeah, and
a respirator.
Look, if you don't want to use deodorant to have aluminum in it, I totally get that. But there's a lot of alternatives. We were selling some chicks the other day to a lady, and she's bought from me before. She's very nice, like her a lot. But it was a little hot out, and she came and she put her elbows up on the side of the car talking to me, and I was getting tears in my eyes from the burning, and I just thought, dear God in heaven, spray some vinegar on those things or something. It neutralizes odor. So, yeah. But yeah, people have really let themselves go. It's starting to freak me out a little bit. But yeah, so there's just some interesting conversation about taxes and everything else.
Yeah.
And now we've started talking about Hitler, which is way not what which is what half of Oregon refers to Governor Brown as.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's an interesting human being.
I know.
I see a lot of pictures of her with the little mustache.
Yeah. I'm going to stop that. I'm not going to say anything. Her grooming habits aren't my concern.
No. Yeah, so good conversation, guys. I'm not going to read all that because there was so much on there, and I'm sure everybody can read it for themselves because they're talking amongst each other. So, so yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like I said, we'll hang here for a while, just because I don't feel confident that there's anywhere else to go, and we're not really the kind of channel that talks all doom and gloom about stuff. But look, you gotta believe that things are about to get a whole lot worse than they.
Yeah.
I think 2020 was a shot across the bow as far as tyranny is concerned. I think a lot of regulations got put into place that were not the will of the people, and they got away with it. They being the people who have
Whoever, yeah.
decided that they now run our lives. Um, when you do stuff like that and you get away with making decisions for everybody else and everybody just falls in line, there was a lot of grumbling, but there's not a lot of protesting going on.
For those reasons.
Yeah,
there's a lot of protesting going on, but
right.
It's fueled by
other stuff. But I think it was a shot across the bow that they were like, hey, and now we've done this, and people haven't fought back. In fact, people are fighting amongst themselves over how this was the greatest thing in the world to do. And no matter how you feel about masks and COVID or the rest of it, you have to be concerned with the fact that basically the government took the time to turn the people against each other and have continued to take. It doesn't matter that the rest of the world has come out with, studies and things saying that the masks don't necessarily work and the vaccines don't necessarily work. And I get that we have somewhere like India that is having huge COVID problems. It's also not a country with great healthcare, great nutrition, and that kind of stuff. But I feel like it's emboldened some of these politicians now to say, well, hey, they didn't stop me last time. And that's a dangerous precedent to get into, right? So now that's kind of where we're at. And the best way to control people is to control their food and their power, and power being electricity, and their money. And while everybody gets real excited of pennies from heaven from the government, as the rest of us that really are paying attention knows, one, nothing is free. Two, that's going to cost us a whole lot more down the road. And yeah, we're already watching prices soar. I mean, maybe they're just kind of baby soaring, but they're going. They're starting to go.
But you look at it, and we've kind of keep track just for our own fun, is that, the national debt used to have a counter and a clock, and that nobody even pays attention anymore. But in the last year and a half, we've doubled our national debt. We're almost 30 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
And in 1 year alone, in a 12-month span, they put $10 million or $10 trillion in debt against the country. And
so Kathy made a comment that I think is really important. It says, I think now is the time to hunker down and build a strong local community. I may change my mind. I may regret that decision, but time will tell. Kathy, you get tired of all of them over there, and I know the I-5 corridor has so much nicer growing seasons and stuff. Come on down to Klamath County. We'd be happy to have you down here.
Yeah. So.
Because we feel the same way. I mean, and we're in Sprague River, which is kind of an eclectic mix of folks.
Yeah.
But, my parents are here.
Yeah.
My dad is really connected now into the older folks that are here. If he's watching this, he's going to be like, older folks. Yeah, that's right, Dad.
Older than us.
No, I tell him he's in with the senior folks. But, yeah, I mean, it is a good little community. We've met a lot of people. I've gotten a little leery over the years of letting too many people around and too many people know what we have. But at some point, yeah, we're doing a little bit more bartering, a little more letting people come out, kind of engage people.
A little bit.
A little bit. I mean, there's just
it's hard to be an island.
Yeah.
It's hard to be an island.
It is.
And there's, while we don't have everything and don't, know everything, it's nice to have a group of people of like-mindedness, whether of all different backgrounds, that you can rely on. That's just the way it works. I mean, being an engineer and somebody that's somewhat mechanically inclined, I am glad to fix stuff for people. I have a welder, and there's other people that can do things.
Emma says I'm one of those older folks. Nah, don't take it that way. And I hope that didn't sound insulting. We just like to tease my dad about his group of
well,
gentlemen.
That and our former neighbor had made a comment a long time ago that we still find comical, at least I do, is that she was, what, 2 years younger than your parents?
2 years younger than my mom. And one day we were talking about something, and she said, she was talking about her dad, and I had said something about my folks, and she said, "Well, you know, when you get to that age," and I was like, "But you are my parents' age."
Yeah, you're within that window. So, but our old neighbor used to believe that somehow she was our age, and she was like 20 years older than us.
Yeah, I don't know. She tried awfully hard.
Yeah, but
I think at some point, when you hit about 50, the push-up bras don't work anymore. And actually, she was closer to 60. She was almost 60.
Yeah, she was
Tighter
bumping 60.
clothes than I thought was probably appropriate.
Yeah, it's a
I
little-
don't know how she was breathing and some of that kind of stuff. So this is an interesting comment. J Max said, "Stay where you are, buy guns and ammos and buy guns and ammo and learn how to use them. Install solar and become as self-sufficient as possible." Have you looked at ammo lately? Because we can't get ammo here.
Well, but at the same time, we just talked about that Oregon's now put in this thing that, thankfully it failed, that you can't keep them within, or is that still pending, that you had to keep them within, or you couldn't keep them
within like 50 feet of each other.
within 50 feet. And some people are saying, I don't have a house that's
Yeah.
wider than 50
No, that's
feet.
still something they're working on.
Okay.
But they did pass the whole thing about
It's got to be locked
It's
with,
gotta be
with a
locked.
trigger lock on it, and
yeah.
ugh, don't even get me going. It's not
but
meant for us.
as far as being self-sufficient as possible, yeah, we're on solar, we're on our own well. Yeah, we're not doing too bad. We're not. I mean, there's always room for improvement, right? But
Yeah, we can definitely improve.
But yeah, we'd love to build our own little community down here. I don't know. There's a lot of, I don't want to be ugly to people, but there's an awful lot of people here that I don't think will ever make it to a year or 2 years. They're not prepared for this. They saw the cheap land prices and other people doing it, and they thought, "Oh, this is where I'm going to go homestead." And this is not a real forgiving area. I mean, I've mentioned that before, that especially right now we're heading into droughts and everything else again, and it's not a real forgiving area. Marcy said, "Oh, was that the horse lady when we were talking about the neighbor?" Yes, that was the horse lady.
No. They are the ones. Now, I'll tell you this. If you know the struggles we had with that couple that lived next to us, they are one of the huge main reasons that we started our channel 4 years ago. Because as much advice that we would give and offer, and because we got here before them and could tell them, we've been here a couple of years, we can we can offer this information, because they knew better than us in their own mind. A lot of times we would watch them struggle and fail, and that was kind of like, let's try, and since they're not going to take our advice, maybe we try to give others advice or information, and what they want to do with it is fine. But yeah, they were a struggle to live next to.
Yeah, they were interesting folks.
Yeah.
Kathy was just asking about the gun thing. So yeah, and I never know if my comments are going through speedily enough, but yeah, the thing that passed today, which was SB 554.
I don't remember.
I think it's 554 that passed today. Says every weapon must either have a trigger lock, a cable lock, or be in a locked cabinet at all times. Locked cabinet at all times.
And I think it was a $500 fine per gun if they find that it's not.
And $2,000 if a youth,
an unauthorized youth, uses the weapon.
Right. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing, because I was already seeing some pushback. We live in a county with what we call squeaks, which are ground squirrels that they tear up hay fields and everything. Well, a lot of high school kids get home, grab the rifle, and they go out and they pick off these things in the summer
Well, I mean,
months.
it's honestly, there are some kids that are in the farm communities that make summer money doing
Yeah,
it.
they do. They go around. They shoot these
They're hired.
critters all
Yeah, the
over the place.
farmers hire them to come out and pick these things off and get
If
rid of them.
if a kid is out there doing that, I mean, it's always been kind of one of those things where people look the other way with it as well. It's a minor; they shouldn't be using a weapon without adult supervision anyway. But now they've actually said if that kid uses that, and it says unauthorized, but parents can't give authorization for it either. Is the other part of it that I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's $2,000 fine. So yeah.
And I again, a lot of the things that come out aren't targeted to people in our situation, and that's the hardest part. I
Yeah.
understand they're trying to curb crime in urban areas.
Yeah.
They're trying to curb crime, and I understand that reason, but unfortunately, you can't make it. This is only effective in this county or this city, or you can do that, but typically on the state level, it's the border, and
So Kathy, you were asking, what if you're carrying on your own property? Does it have to be locked? I think as long as you're carrying, it
yeah,
doesn't matter.
I don't remember seeing it specified.
But they also remove protection from carrying on a whole bunch of properties, and I didn't see the full list of what. Like I think, I mean, you never really could carry on federal property. I think, but there's like a whole list of stuff now of places you can't carry in Oregon, regardless of what you've got. Yeah. So it's interesting. Dennis said this is not about curbing crime. It's much bigger than that. It's full on disarming the populace. It just is. The thing I can't understand, and I guess that gets off into a whole nother tangent, but people who want to do harm, do harm.
Yeah.
Whether it's a bang bang stick or a hammer. And personally, I'd rather be shot than beat to death with a hammer. But that's yeah, Kathy says, all right, I'm going to read this tonight. Yeah, I think it was SB 554. I think it went today, it passed, and is heading to the governor's desk. So it should be pretty easy to find because it was announced today that it passed. So, yeah. It's kind of interesting. So Captain Dan says, I bought property northeast of Sprague River next to Windima National Forest. Not many people there, but the ones that do appear to be involved in the meth business. Plus no power within 5 miles or so. That's I will say this. The amount of people doing manufacturing drugs here in Sprague River is starting to diminish.
Yeah.
What's happened is you've got a lot of people now buying the properties around these little meth houses and shit. Excuse me, and stuff. And guys doing growing illegal stuff or manufacturing illegal stuff don't want neighbors a lot of times.
Yeah.
So what's happening is you're getting a lot more people moving up into the estates in some of these areas, and they're moving out. They're leaving because they don't want the
attention.
They don't want the attention. They don't want the neighbors next door potentially calling them in. So yeah, it's I think it's cleaning up. We used to see a lot of really shady people down at the little store, and that's getting a lot better.
Yeah.
And we've met a lot of really nice people that are moving. Theft is up in some of these places. But as people band together, I think it's gonna get a little better.
Yeah.
At least
I will say there's a couple. Well, there's one local community watch group on Facebook for the town here. I mostly just sit in there and watch comments. I really don't participate in any of the conversations. But yesterday there was an incident of a high-speed chase, and that the I'll tell you, the official information that came out from the local paper and the police department on the situation was like this big, and I think there's only like 200 or 300 people in this little Facebook community group, and I think one thread had like 137 comments, and it was a detailed, like for 3 hours it was going on. I think from beginning to the end, the last that I saw of the situation, and it was it was like a police scanner, reading a police scanner. Okay, here's what's going on now. This is what happened. Oh my gosh, you're not going to believe this. This is what happened. Here's some pictures. Here's video. It was, the official information was so small compared to what was going on yesterday on the low group. And it's kind of nice to see that people are banding together.
Hey, watch your booty.
Watch your butt. Don't hit the camera. Collie butt.
Rogue tail.
Yeah. But it's nice to see at least a lot of people trying to stay connected that way. And actually, yesterday, we knew the property north of us had sold because we actually had to go sign a document. The deed kind of got messed up or whatever. Mm-hmm. And we had to go sign that. And our new neighbor, we knew the last name of whoever bought it. And our new neighbor yesterday contacted us through Facebook.
Yep.
They,
didn't know that we were their new neighbor. They were looking for information about Sprague River, and they were like, "Oh, I did a search and I found you guys." And
you're the first result that popped up, and so I saw the name, and it was the wife of the couple or of the family, and she had said, "Yeah, we bought this property, and I did a search, really just trying to find area, and of course we found you on Facebook." And I saw the name, and I said, because Nikki and I both share the account, and she said, "Isn't that the last name of the people that bought the property north of us?" And so I responded back. I said, "Hey, did you buy this property that was from this owner?" And she was just like, "Oh, how do you know that?"
Yeah.
And, well, it's just kind of a small world. But yeah, we now at least know who bought the property. And they're talking about coming down here and maybe using one of our campsites. Renting a campsite so they can kind of go off to the property because there's nothing on theirs. It's mostly bare land. So just think of that small world that you can have collies in your lap.
Liza, careful. Oh goodness.
Liza, careful.
So Emma says, if no one knows the trouble you've seen, you don't live in a small town. Oh my goodness.
You need to get that away from her tail.
Okay.
Thank you.
There we go.
Thank you.
Little collie intervention.
Oh my gosh. Stop.
Yeah, that's true. We've lived in quite a few small towns.
Not the ear.
Stop.
Not the ear. Okay, off. You're out of control.
She's just gonna knock it down again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want to go outside?
But small towns are, small towns are great. We love them. There are times that we think that this.
Do you want to go outside?
I don't know. Yeah, everybody's in everybody else's business, but tail quake. Yeah, she's pretty lethal with that whole back end for the most part. Oh, now she's giving you sad eyes.
She's giving me a stare from the glass, like, what did I do? We have a nightly ritual that when it's about bedtime, she comes and jumps on me on the couch, and she does not she cannot get on the couch. We do not allow it. But she comes and jumps on me and starts to bite me. So I know it's about bedtime.
It's love nibbles.
Yeah.
She's not a biter.
No, she's not attacked, but she likes to play rough. So that's when I know it's about bedtime.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So 6:49. Well, I got some stuff I've got to go get out there and do. So good chat, everybody. Thanks for coming and talking about stuff. But yeah, as far as our little thing about maybe moving, not anytime soon.
No.
We are going to do our part to try and fight this kind of stuff out. Somebody has to, right? If not for ourselves, and for people in the future. I'm sure George Washington and the rest never thought this is just about us. This is about everybody else too.
Yeah.
And not that I would look good in the coat with the
wig.
The wig, but somebody has to fight it out, right?
The thing about it is that Nikki and I are not big into politics. We don't enjoy politics.
We keep an eye on it, but it's not really our thing, right? I'd rather talk manure and tomatoes any day of the week.
Well, but I would be interested in politics if it was less about ego and more about trying to find solutions. I mean, that's why I'm an engineer. That's why I have an engineering background. Engineers are problem solvers. And every day, no matter what it is, one of my just driving forces for me personally is to solve problems. So if there's something that doesn't work, I want to fix it. If someone's having a bad day, I want to fix it. I want to solve the problem. And I would love to, find solutions that everybody can deal with. And I realize people are just not going to do that, but that's where I've just lost interest in politics, because there's some people that just want to argue. They don't care what the result is as long as they can argue about it.
True.
And I was never good on the debate team because of that. I didn't want to argue.
I know. Now you're running. See, now we ran another 2 minutes.
All right.
Okay, so that's it for this week. As usual, you can always send us emails if you have questions. I know we haven't done a lot of rabbit chat type stuff here lately, but everybody that's been sending me emails, I'm doing better at getting caught up. srhomestead@yahoo.com is how you can find us, or Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. We try and answer everything. So everybody have a good night. Thank you all for coming in and chatting. And we will see you guys next Wednesday. We're going to stick it out on the Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesdays for May, just to try something
the
different.
The connection is working really good tonight. So I think that might be the ticket, is Mondays are just too much for YouTube, and we'll just kind of do that. So, okay. Good night, everybody.
See you next time.
Hit the X. Bye-bye.